Erin Elmore, a Trump supporter and a former contestant on The Apprentice. Ladies, thank you for being here. Margaret, I want to start with you. Immediately jump into this big fight that has been developing today and certainly heating up this afternoon about the term anchor babies. Let's roll it.
Anchor baby, is that not bombastic?
No, it isn't. Give me another give me another word.
It's immigrants in the U.S.
That's like a 7. That's not another word. That's a 7. Look, here's the deal. What I said was it's commonly referred to that. That's what I said. I didn't use it as my own language. What we ought to do is protect the 14th. You want to get to the policy for a second? I think that people born in this country ought to be American citizens.
So it's interesting. Hillary Clinton then comes out right after this, and I want to show you what Hillary Clinton tweeted. She tweeted some options. How about babies, children, or American citizens? Okay, so Jeb Bush there is asked, why did you use this term anchor babies? And he's defending it. Hillary Clinton's criticizing it. Does he need to tread more carefully? Because that's a term Donald Trump used as well.
Yeah, look, oh, so you're telling me Jeb Bush and Donald Trump are being held to different standards? Shocking, just shocking that could possibly be the case. Or Donald Trump and the entire field against him. No, look, what's interesting is Donald Trump has put his flag in the sand in terms of this entire debate about naturalized citizenship. Should people be able to just be born here? I mean, this is codified not just in the Constitution, in the 14th Amendment. You would have to change the Constitution. So let's have a debate about policy for once, rather than this substance-free showmanship that Trump has brought to the table.
But does it show us that this bombast that we see from Trump cannot be exhibited by the other candidates without a lot of backlash that, frankly, Trump maybe doesn't get as much of?
Trump is not held to the same standard. That's certainly true. And look, I don't think it's fair. Look, it's like we're just dealing in this unparalleled, this parallel reality. It's just impossible that Jeb can be held to a different standard than Trump, except for that he's actually a credible candidate. I mean, never in the history of the United States has somebody who has been a citizen, never elected to another position, been elected to the presidency, with the exception of once. It was Herbert Hoover, and he had served in both Democratic and presidential cabinets for 8 years before he was elected. Citizens, just out of the ordinary, people like Donald Trump. We do not have a precedent, a historical precedent, for just ascending to the presidency without having held elected office before. And that's why there's a different standard here.
Erin, what do you make of these opponents really especially you've seen the transformation in Jeb Bush, I think, in the last 48 hours, really taking Trump head on and instead of sort of waiting for him to wane and thinking that might happen, instead just going right after him?
I mean, at this point, Donald Trump is the front runner. He has to be taken seriously. These other candidates are starting to realize the numbers aren't lying. They better wake up and really start to compete with him. And I think that's why they're just coming head on.
Margaret, one way to put it is he takes the oxygen out of the room. If you look at the dueling town halls last night, Jeb Bush and Donald Trump, or you look at the front of Time magazine and the front of the Hollywood Reporter, Trump, 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 Trump. You advise candidates, you advise, people running for office. What do you do to get some of that oxygen back, to get some of that airtime back?
I do think, Poppy, that some of this will run its course. If you look at August of 2007, Rick Perry led Rudy Giuliani was leading. I'm in the polls, the guy that I was working for. He didn't end up getting the nomination. If you look in 2012, this time in 2012, Rick Perry was leading. Herman Cain led at one point. Michelle Bachmann led at one point. None of this is going to stay constant, right? This is what we do know about presidential races. They are constantly in flux and changing. So on one level, we know that the dynamics are going to change unpredictably. On the other level, I'm delighted to see a fired up Jeb Bush. I'm delighted to see somebody punching back, because for too long, the rest of the candidates, at least the ones who actually have a real credible chance at the nomination, have taken their time in punching. They've been too timid. And they've been too timid because they've been afraid of what Trump's saying or what Trump supporters might do. This is a positive development, I think, we're seeing in Jeb Bush.
I do think we've seen, Erin, a change in Donald Trump, even just in his interview style. If you watched him, say, with our Chris Cuomo, if you watched him on Meet the Press with Chuck Todd on Sunday morning, it was a different tone than he took with all the reporter interviews he did at the beginning. He seems to have calmed a little bit. And I just wonder, you know him, you were on the show The Apprentice. Is there a different Trump behind closed doors when the camera isn't rolling than when they're on him?
Well, Donald Trump is quite a character on and off camera. He's very, very smart. He's very savvy. He's very sharp. And he also is a big personality, both on and off camera. He is also quite funny, which you don't see sometimes. And he is also great at taking advice. I think he's got some great advisors that are helping him out. And he's really starting to show that change. And I think it's actually helping his campaign.
But I'm asking, is he different? I mean, you are one of the few people who have gotten to spend time with him when the cameras aren't rolling. Is he different?
You know, he's pretty much the same. He's maybe a little funnier, but he's really the character that you see on television is pretty much the guy that you get to know off camera. He was always very respectful to me as a woman. He treats everyone with kindness, and I think he's a consummate professional in that regard. And, you know, he's maybe just a little bit funnier, but he is the same character that you see on television.
Sounds like he has your vote, am I right?
Yeah, so far I am definitely Team Trump.
Erin Elmore, Margaret Hoover, thank you. CNN, just a reminder here, hosting the next Republican presidential debate. It is on September the 6th.